everyone. I welcome you all to our second episode in our podcast series, Deep in Spirit, presented by IIW in association with DEEGA Yoga. In today's episode, we will be dwelling deep within ourselves to a different universe, our mind. The mind is its own place and in itself can make a heaven of hell or a hell of heaven. Our today's guest is Amrat Kara, a certified NLP practitioner and a clinical hypnotherapist and mindset coach based in UK. She specializes in helping high-achieving clients break through overthinking, self-doubt, and emotional blocks by working at a deeper subconscious level. With years of experience and hundreds of clients supported, Amrat uses a blend of NLP, hypnotherapy, and coaching to create lasting change. Her approach empowers clients with practical tools for confidence, clarity, and emotional well-being. Welcome, Amrat. Welcome to our podcast series, Amrat. It is a pleasure having you with us today. I was just telling the viewers about your background and how powerful the galaxy of the mind is. So I want you to let us know and take us through the journey about NLP and hypnotherapy. First of all, what inspired you to pursue these fields?
So firstly, my background is very far from the work I'm doing at the moment. So in my 20s, I had what on paper seemed like a very enviable lifestyle. I had a degree in economics. I had a fast track career in a world that I loved, a field I absolutely loved, and I loved learning and progressing within that. And then I guess during this time, I was privileged to be mentoring and coaching as well. So I was mentoring young graduates who were entering the workplace, helping them navigate the corporate world. I was helping young professionals, how to help them with their career advancements and how to have the right conversations within the organization. And then slowly, as I moved on in my career, I was working more with professionals who were coming back from parental leave, so like maternity leave and paternity leave, and how to settle back into the world of working life again. So it's quite a privileged position to be working and mentoring for over 15 years within the corporate background. And then I guess my outlook began to change when I became a mother. So I gave birth to two very lively, full of energy boys. And at that time, I started to almost reevaluate what kind of mother I wanted to be, what kind of life I wanted to give them. And at that time, I realized actually I have a choice. I have a choice what kind of mum I want to be. I don't have to take wherever I was given or wherever I've seen around me. And probably the combination of that, and then COVID happened soon after. So I think the combination of the two things kind of helped me evolve even more into the world of mental and emotional well-being. So I joined the mental health ally team within my workplace. And it kind of just started from there. And I just realized after that this is where my passion lies, and I pursued even further. So I gave up my work. I trained in clinical hypnotherapy and NLP. I earned my diploma in it, and I set up the work that I'm doing right now.
Great. It's so amazing that how situations and environment changes us for good. And in your own words, tell us what is NLP and how does it work?
So NLP, in very simple terms, stands for neuro-linguistic programming. And in essence, it's about learning the language of our brain and of our mind. And it's a brilliant framework to kind of help people just rewire the way that they think, the way that they feel, and therefore how they behave as well. It's almost like understanding your brain software. So what's going on, how it's running, identifying the patterns and the beliefs that are holding you back. And then just working with that to help clients become more self-aware, more confident, and emotionally in a place where they want to be, so much more resilient.
Okay, this kind of resonates with self-introspection that we do in yoga, all right? So how do you use NLP technique in your sessions with the clients?
So with each client I work with and each session that I have, the tools I use are very bespoke and very specific to whatever the issue is that they come with. So, for example, if a client comes to me and they're looking for inner calmness or inner confidence, anchoring is brilliant. So working with that to try and get into that right mindset, locking it in by using a finger and thumb or any other method so that whenever they need that calmness and that confidence, they can bring it back again. Brilliant techniques like yoga and like meditation are great to kind of connect with how we're feeling in this moment. What NLP is brilliant at doing is working with that, but also going beneath the layer slightly to think, okay, this is what's going on. What do I need to do now? How do I work with that to come back up again?
Okay, so we were talking about how it reprograms your mind, right? Can you tell us more about that? How do you, can you tell us, how does it tune the mind or reprogram it?
So a lot of the times, our mind is already reprogrammed, and a lot of the times it's actually reprogrammed from quite a young age. So we've picked up habits, we've picked up behaviors, we've picked up judgments, words. Almost think of our mind like a sponge. We've just taken up words and opinions and behaviors around us, and we've kind of taken that to be the norm. And we've told our brains, okay, this is what the norm is, this is how we behave, and we've kept that behavior going, which is brilliant for back then because it clearly added some kind of value. But now, as we grow older, our world evolves, we gain more experience, we gain more tools that we can use. The things that we learned back then, we can slowly let them go. So the things that we rewired back then, we can let them go. And once we let them go, we create this beautiful space inside our body where we can now start replacing that with habits and beliefs and behaviors that are actually more useful in this time and in this age that we're in.
Great. So you were talking a lot about the subconscious mind, right? How it impacts your everyday choices and how you are tracing back to your past to try and tune the acquired and the learned skills. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, and the subconscious mind is actually one of my favorite topics because it works so well when we're looking at NLP, but also so brilliantly well when we combine hypnotherapy within that. So what I do within my sessions is that I work with NLP and with hypnotherapy kind of hand in hand. They both work equally as powerful. And what we do within that is that, so I'll explain a bit about the subconscious mind. So hypnotherapy works really well with the subconscious mind. And that is the parts of our mind that stores our beliefs that we picked up from that young age that I mentioned, the habits that we picked up from that young age, the past emotional experiences that we may have gone through. Our subconscious mind kind of stores that. So where I call the NLP the software, the subconscious mind is like the operating software that's going on. You know, like in a computer, there's a background that's running constantly without you even knowing. That's what the subconscious mind is. And that's what's happening. And what this does is everything that we've stored over the years, over the many moments that we've had in our lives, in this current moment, it actually influences 90 to 95% of your daily thoughts and your daily behaviors, and therefore your decisions and actions as well. So it's really powerful what you picked up back there and how it's influencing your life right now. But what it can do is, because it's been picked up from such a young age, it can sabotage any goals that we're trying to create right now, because if it's outdated, something we picked up back then, it won't understand what we're trying to achieve right now. So it can actually work against you. So what we, and the way this shows up and the words that I hear when this is happening is when you end up saying yes to something when you really want to say no to it, or you procrastinate, you stop yourself from doing something that you're really passionate about and it's really important to you, but for some reason just finding it hard to pursue it and then continue with it. Or that feeling of, that inner feeling of just not feeling good enough, despite having so many achievements, reaching so many milestones, but still that feeling of, yeah, it's still not enough. I still want to reach kind of for more. If it's an ambition, brilliant. But if it's something that's holding you back, then that's the self-sabotage that happens because of that subconscious mind.
Okay, so in hypnotherapy, you basically try to break people's beliefs, and that's what you mean. So they have conditioned their mind in a certain way to think in a certain way and to behave in a certain way. So you're basically breaking that.
We're breaking that. So we're using NLP to identify what's happening. Then we're using hypnotherapy and the subconscious mind to understand why it's happening. So then we can replace both of them. If this is happening, let's replace it with something else. If this is why it's happening, let's give that something else to kind of make it work for you instead.
Okay. So as a client, I want to try hypnotherapy. Like, I would have some apprehension about a new technique altogether, because that therapy induces you to a certain state, right? If I'm not wrong. So how comfortable are clients to approach you for hypnotherapy?
I think the word hypnotherapy in itself does have a lot of misconceptions, unfortunately. But once we talk them through it, I make sure that they're completely at ease about it. So some of the misconceptions that so commonly come up in any of the clarity calls that we have, and that's something we do. So before we take up any sessions, I offer a free clarity call. They can call me, they can ask whatever questions they like. I can expand, then can explain what the issues are they're going through, and I can explain how you can use NLP and hypnotherapy to help them with that. But some of the misconceptions that do come up in these clarity calls are they think hypnotherapy is all about mind control because of the way it's being shared, by performance or in theatres or within circuses as well. But it's not. It's a beautiful, really deeply relaxing meditative state. But your subconscious mind is just more open to suggestions that we want to give it and that we want to work with as well. And the whole time, you're completely aware of what you're saying, what you're feeling, what emotions you're going through. So you're in charge the whole time.
I see. It's quite interesting, but at the same time, it reminds me of, what we see in movies where there is a spiral and then you keep looking at it and then you go into a sleep state or something, and it's literally like blabbering in your sleep. Is it something like that?
Yeah, and it's not at all. I would really frame it, and that's why I tend to do a lot on beautiful, lovely meditative state, and
Okay.
we just talk while we're in that state and have a beautiful conversation and understand what's happening and why it's happening.
Okay. Is everyone hypnotizable?
If you can get into a state, i.e., if you can get into a kind of a feeling, then you can get into hypnotherapy as well.
Okay. So has it been in any case where the client has had some bad experience while doing hypnotherapy, while performing the hypnotherapy, some discomfort or something like that?
So the way we go about in our sessions is we're so gentle and it's really step by step. So we never reach that level of uncomfortableness, and if we do, it's kind of picked up straight away, and we know exactly. So we're never going from 0 to 100 when we're doing any kind of process. Really gentle, softly, step by step, working our way through it. And so far in all the sessions I've worked with, we've never hit a block or a point where there's a feeling of uncomfortableness within there.
Okay, so while I asked you about hypnotherapy, the process, is there any limitation on trying this with a certain number of, I mean, certain gender or certain age people? Or, yeah, so is it doable for kids or is it doable for people over 60? Is there any restriction in terms of the people that who need to get this technique done, therapy done?
So I've been privileged so far where I've worked with people from all walks of life, and I've worked. So I tend not to go younger than about 13, so teenage onwards. I tend to work with, but there's no reason why you can't work below that. And I've worked up to clients who are in their 60s, and it's been equally as effective. It's just that the approach and the language you use, we do it so that it's understandable whether you're a child or whether you're an adult trying to navigate through life.
Okay, so I mean, in today's times, we only feel that the children are in need of a lot of therapy. So, have you been having a lot of youth clientele, or how is it? Like, it's a very concerning thing that the children are very disturbed. They feel very stressful. Even for me, I have handled children and tried giving counseling through yoga,
Yeah.
and they are the ones who need help at the moment. So has it been successful doing hypnotherapy for children? Have you had any experience?
Yes, so I've worked with many children, kind of again from 13 onwards, who have actually faced anxiety during exam times, who've been having sleep issues because of even exams that I had, like 11 plus exams that I had many years ago, but they still felt it when they went to university and having to take exams again. That same feeling that they had back then was kind of following them through. And what I found, especially working with children or with students, is that we work mostly with NLP techniques to begin with, because that then helps us to soften, understand the conscious mind much, much more, and they're much more receptive to what's going on. And when they see the changes through that, then we do a slow entry of the hypnotherapy, the subconscious mind, because we already know what we want to achieve through the NLP techniques. We just use the hypnotherapy after to kind of supplement it on top. I have found that when it comes to working with younger children, NLP is much, much more powerful at a much bigger level, but hypnotherapy is still supplementary to it as well.
Okay, so how do you decide how to complement both the therapies hand in hand, like NLP and hypnotherapy? So the percentage of NLP versus the percentage of hypnotherapy, it's up to you to decide based on the client, is it?
A lot of the times you can see straight away how responsive the client is to different sessions. So the great thing about the clarity call that I mentioned is we get a really good understanding of what's happening, what the issues are. But also the really powerful thing that I think works so well with the clients I've worked with is we also determined what the outcome is that they'd like to get to as well. So we have a joint goal that we're working towards and we're very clear about that. And usually from the outcome that they want to reach, it's easier to find, I think these are the techniques that will actually help them get there. So if that's what they're facing, that's when they get there. We see the bridge of how do we get them from A to B, and we use the techniques accordingly as a bridge to get them there.
Okay, so what has been the most profound transformation that you have witnessed through your work?
So many, I really, when I hear any feedback back or even when I hear words back, I just, like you see me beaming, I'm actually beaming from my face all the time. Some common ones that come out is I've worked with clients who have come to me from in their mid 30s, because I find that a lot of the shifts happen kind of mid 30 onwards as well. So when identities shift, a lot of the times their response to that change kind of is in conflict a bit as well. So we do a lot of work there. So one of the examples that a client came recently about is that, they just started their perimenopause journey. And it's quite interesting considering the menopause podcast that you had in the last session as well. But one of the key things that came up there, which is so common, is that perimenopause actually starts much earlier than the menopause journey starts. So actually from kind of early to mid 30s, it can actually start for some people. And it's quite confusing. So they come, and I've had a recent example where they've come and they're feeling lost, they're feeling confused. Within their own families, they're feeling like an outsider, not fully present. They just want to be left alone and just work things through. And what we've done there is that we've just kind of worked with, okay, well, what's happening here? We've calmed the how they're feeling on the inside. We've given some relaxation techniques. We've made sure that's driven in the subconscious mind as well. And just a few sessions in, they fed back that they're feeling much lighter, much more energized. They feel more present. Whereas before they were going to the bedrooms, they were wanting to sit into the living room and have conversations. And that's just a few sessions in that they kind of feed that back. And the strange thing is you see it in their face and in their body language and how they speak as well. So when they are about to say that, you kind of pick up that there's something that they're going to share.
That's lovely. That boosts their confidence as well and reassuring their self-belief. And is it an underlying thing? Is it like self-love, Amrat? Do you think people who come to you, they have this lack of confidence mostly, and there is lack of self-love, self-care? Are these the people who come to you for help?
I think you're absolutely right. I think the self-care and the self-love is so important because those are the things that help elevate us and help us get to where we want to get to. But there are some really common kind of struggles that I see, especially from South Asian women or Indian women. And some really common ones that come up quite often is, firstly, they're like silent struggles almost. So the first one is kind of a pressure to be everything to everyone. Try to fulfill so many roles, be great in your career, but also be the perfect daughter or the perfect daughter-in-law or the perfect sibling, strong mother who's all juggling everything. And if you think about it, that's quite a lot of balls you're juggling in the air, and it can be quite exhausting as well. And I've worked with clients where, and again, so important, the self-care, the self-love you said, they feel guilty for taking some time out for themselves. And that in itself is like, so you're already feeling the physical exhaustion, then you feel the emotional exhaustion because of that as well. Another common kind of struggle that comes up so often is the belief that you can't talk about your struggles. So there's still a stigma that we don't talk about it. We kind of suppress it. We just let it go away. But then what happens there is that just causes the overthinking and the anxiety instead, rather than actually addressing the feeling or what's going on so that you can just understand it and then release it, just let it go. So it's actually the opposite effect of addressing it than anything else. Another struggle that comes up so common, and again with Indian women, is that feeling of I'm not enough. So they could be really high achievers. They're doing brilliantly well in their careers, but there's still that feeling of, I still need that. I still need to achieve that. I still need, even words like, I'm not good enough, or I'm not good enough at this, or I'm not thin enough, or I'm not articulate enough. There's so many kind of self-judgment, but also comparative behaviors that come up as well within the sessions.
So to summarize, basically people with low self-esteem and who always have self-doubt, and those kind of people you said.
Yeah, so like self-doubt, self-confidence, imposter syndrome, limiting beliefs. These are the things that pop up so commonly.
I see. Okay. So, for those who have to come to you, right, and generally the listeners also, they might have some misconceptions about hypnotherapy or NLP. If you do this, then this would happen, citing the risks of these therapies. What do you have to tell them? How can you just assure them that this is a safe practice?
So firstly, I make sure that and they're absolutely completely valid concerns that pop up as well. Because if you think about it, a lot of the people who seek help actually are the ones who want to improve themselves. So the high achieving within themselves as well. And if you come from a background of high achieving, it's very hard to trust the process and just learn to let go as well. So the first thing I do there is just to create a really safe environment, a safe space where they can open up, they can be free to talk however they want, and just to reassure them that everything that they say is completely confidential and it's just between us, and just be open without feeling any judgment within our sessions as well.
All right. So, see, those who have come to you, they would have tried different methods to work on themselves. They would have introspected. They would have tried counseling. How is your approach different without diminishing these tools?
Yeah, and there are some brilliant tools out there, and they're all great in their own right because they deliver the purpose that they're designed for. So counseling is really great at unpacking stuff and making sense of what's going on. Meditation is really good at getting back in touch with your body and yourself and your conscious mind again. Yoga is really brilliant at connecting with your body and working within that, even breath work within that as well. What I do with NLP and hypnotherapy is that we get in touch with our conscious mind and what's going on there and within our body. But we just go one level deeper into the subconscious level, because that's the bit that we can influence. So we're connecting with the here and now, but we're also going to, okay, what do we want to do now? What do we want to change? And how do we do that? If you think about a tree with the roots, we go to the roots level. How do we change that so that we can continue to flourish, that tree can continue to grow in its strong self as well?
Okay, I'm sure every method has its own advantages and effect and impact. But when it comes to hypnotherapy and people are in a vulnerable state in their mind, how do you approach that vulnerability? Because it's live. It's not like you let them introspect themselves and come back to you. It's not like counseling, right? So it's live. You are with them in that state, in their vulnerable state in their mind. So how do you approach and try and maintain that comfort zone for them and ensure that your work is also the ethics of your work is also not disturbed?
No, it's a really good question, and I think that's where the well-formed outcome that I mentioned at the beginning, where is it that you want to get to? That's why it's so important to be clear on that, and that they believe that I understand where they're trying to get to, but also I can relay back to them that is this where you want to try and get to, this is how you want to feel. And then that way they trust the process more, because they know that we're on the same track, we're on the same path, and we work together. And remember, although we are doing hypnotherapy, they're completely aware of what conversations we're having. I explain and up front before we even start, let's try this because I think this can actually help with that. So I open up the space to actually suggest, shall we try this? And when I get their buy-in, we work towards it. So it feels like they're in control throughout the whole time and throughout the whole session as well.
So definitely this will be running for a couple of sessions. It's not like one-off session, right? So typically how many number of sessions would a client require to feel better or to find the desired result?
Yeah, so it would really depend on what it is that they come with. So, for example, I've had someone come to me about fear of like a fear of flying, so a phobia of flying, and within actually 3 sessions, we kind of fixed that, and we gave the feedback back where they went skiing on the plane and they went through it, and they actually sent me a picture of a selfie on the mountain to just to kind of show that it worked really well. And then there's some which are a bit more kind of embedded, kind of emotional wounds that I've lived there for many years. And I will just be, again, in the clarity call, I will say, I think maybe this many sessions would help. Because the way I see it is that I never want, my intention is to make that client empowered to be able to help themselves going forwards. So it's not that their lifetime depends on me. I want to give them the tools and empower them to use the tools that I give them and the resources I give them to help themselves going forwards. So therefore, we need enough sessions to kind of understand what's going on. How can we unpack it and release it? Because that's what we want to do. We want to release it from our body, from our minds. And then when we create this beautiful space, because now we've got beautiful space inside us because we've released all this old stuff, we just fill that with the good stuff. So we need enough sessions to kind of allow that beautiful journey to happen from what's happening now to getting rid of it, releasing it, to kind of filling the good stuff that'll help them.
Okay, great. So there is a process and it would take time based on their requirement and how they progress, right?
Yeah.
Right.
But like I said, the idea is not to have them rely on me, that they keep coming back to me. It's to make sure that the tools and resources I give them is really embedded inside. And that's the great thing about the subconscious mind, because not only do we have the powerful conversation through NLP, but we use hypnotherapy to make sure it's embedded inside. So whenever they need it, as life is going on, different experiences pop up, it kind of comes through when it's needed by itself, because almost automatically.
All right, interesting. There is one such incident with my client. So there was this parent who wanted to counsel their daughter who was a tennis player. All right. So she came for yoga counseling, but I had a challenge that she wouldn't just open up. She wouldn't just sit in a place. She was very restless. So there was no eye contact. So I had a biggest challenge to even try and make her listen. Of course, she was in her teen. She was barely 13 or 14. So it took time for her to settle down and then probably cooperate and understand. So we have to start with physical asana. So because it's yoga, so I just generally make her listen first to do this, to do that, and then make them speak. And of course, the end of it basically was to reduce the anxiety in the child, because in game they can get very anxious while they are playing. They don't want to lose, they consciously have this pressure to perform. So that led to anxiety in this poor child. But ultimately the sessions helped. But my biggest challenge was the initial time where she wouldn't just open up, and it was getting very tricky for me to go ahead with the therapy, because it was 4 sessions down and then she hadn't just spoken up. Right? She wouldn't just sit. She was so restless. So have you had any challenges like this, Amrat, in your practice? Can you share some?
Oh yes, I can really resonate with that. So the example that I gave earlier about the student who were feeling anxiety during exam times. What I found really, and it's so interesting that you say that, and what I found that helped, that I use in my sessions and that helps me a lot, is I look at which senses work for them. So for some, it's visual and objects and shapes. That works brilliantly for them. Even though they can't articulate the words, they can show how they're feeling, what they're going through shapes and colors and things. This particular client that I worked with, theirs was more feeling. So they would feel heat on their face, and on their chest, they would feel tightness. So we kind of worked with that. So we worked more with kind of kinetic kind of senses. Then obviously there's visual, so words. Some people work really well with words and what kind of words they hear, because again, they're feeding that in a dialogue that they're hearing themselves as well. So what I find, and I find that so many clients I work with vary so much in that. Some are naturally more visual, some are more kind of sensory, and some are more kind of verbal. And I just work with that. And that's the great thing about NLP. You're not relying just on one sense. You can actually work with And the way I like to see it is that we're working with your strengths. So we try and understand how they're responding to what, and then I base my sessions around that instead.
Great, great. So, what does a typical hypnotherapy session looks like? So, initially, how does it start with, and how long does it go?
So I would never use just hypnotherapy by itself. In all my sessions, always NLP and hypnotherapy side by side. And the way I use them is that I just see it like one right hand, one left hand. We use one hand, the NLP, to make sure we're having the right conversations to begin with. We're rewiring all these thoughts and beliefs that we've learned from the past that are no longer helping us. We're rewiring that and correcting them to help us go forward. And then we use the subconscious mind that, okay, we've had the great conversation. Let's make sure that we're in line with it on the inside as well. So that when you leave the session, it's there's no inner conflict going on. I want to do this, but there's something stopping me doing that. So I kind of make them work together like that.
Great. So, can you share any one transformation story that you felt created a very lasting impact in your client? Any one transformation story? You don't have to mention the name of the client or those details, just as to how what was the issue and how did your therapy transform them?
So I've had there's so many wonderful ones. Actually, a good one will be client who was feeling a bit lost almost. So really high-flying career, going actually on to having going for a promotion as well. But on the inside, so on the outside, she was seen as this high power, high flying, career orientated lady. But on the inside, she was full of panic. She kept pausing herself. She wasn't volunteering for things that she knew she was much more capable of doing. She wasn't even pursuing conversations with people because she thought, I might come across as pushy, or I might come across as, or they might not want to be talking to me. So there was a lot of imposter syndrome and limiting beliefs that were just holding her back. On the outside, you would never have thought that. And the description that she gave to me was, I feel like Jekyll and Hyde. That on the outside, I feel this. On the inside, I'm feeling that. And the thing they asked me was, is that normal? And I said, what is normal, firstly? The thing that we want to work with is, how do you want to feel? Which part do we want to give power to the most? So we kind of, again, well-formed outcome. We looked at what it is that we want to get to. How do you want to get there? And we as we were going through the sessions, and again, biggest transformations we start seeing within the first few sessions. And that gives a belief to that client that this has happened so far. It gives them the ability to continue that journey for the remaining sessions as well. And they went on to get that promotion that they got. And still now, even now, they keep in touch. And the word that they used to me when I just saw them last week was that I don't realize how powerful your words are because I still hear them in my head. So she actually used those words. And I said, okay, no, in a good way, because I actually think now, if Amrat was here, what would she say? And for me, that was the biggest compliment that I had, because this is like this. We had these sessions 6 months ago, and for that client to still be saying that I still think that what would she say if she was here? For me, that was like a huge compliment, but also so much gratitude for this client to come to me in the first place. Trust me with that.
Correct. It's a very rewarding experience, especially when we do therapies to clients and the purpose is solved. We feel very satisfied, right, during the session, and yeah. So
and just like that, I get so many messages after. So a year later, someone still messaged me after saying, "You'll be really proud of me. I did this," and I do say I feel really proud of you. Thank you for sharing that with me.
Oh, that's wonderful. So it's like a one-off thing, right? So once they come to you for a therapy, it's like going to stick with them for lifelong, or is there chances that they can come back to you?
Yeah, and you know what? Like, so the whole idea is to give them the tools that are lifelong lasting. So you know that they can refer back to. But sometimes blips happen. Sometimes situations can change completely, and they might just say, "Look, I need a top up," or "This has happened. Can I talk to you about it?" And we'll just reinforce, or we'll just build that one more layer to help them. So it's not like starting from scratch. It's just that, okay, what's happened? What's changed? Fine, let's put that into the equation as well, and let's work within that as well. So again, the whole idea is again still to arm them so that they can go away with the right resources and tools to be able to handle that as well.
All right, that's nice. So, what are the self practices that you do to keep your mental health, you keep yourself happy and stable to provide therapies to others? Any self practices that you do to keep your emotional, mental balance?
So there's two I do on myself, and I always recommend it to whoever I speak to as well, especially within my clients. So the first one is pattern interruption. So if we find that sometimes when I'm finding that, oh, my thoughts are running with me, and yeah, they're not really helpful. So I always say if the same thought has come 3 times, it's not helpful. It's occupying space in your mind that you don't need. So what I always say is interrupt it. If that's what's going on and it's not working for you, and if you're sitting down, stand up, do the opposite, go for a walk, or just stretch. Or usually at that time where you're overthinking or the same thoughts keep coming, they're not really nice words that you're hearing back. So say something kind to yourself, really loud, or do something kind for yourself instead. So interrupt the pattern and then do the opposite of what's going on. So that's something I do on myself quite often, and it's so easy to do as well. And the other one is anchoring. And up to till this day, I still do that. So anchoring is brilliant at getting into a nice state. So if I'm at an occasion where I want to feel confident, then I'll just take myself back to a moment where I felt really confident. I felt so good about myself. I'll connect with that feeling all within seconds, and then I'll just lock in by pressing my finger and thumb. And I'll just do that on a regular basis. And then what happens is that because you've created a practice is permanence. So because you've created a pattern there, you want that confidence to come back, press that finger and thumb again. Instantly, how quickly it comes back is just amazing.
True, true. It's, self-care is very important, and it should start with us who provide therapies to others, because that will reflect even in their development, their progress, I feel. I truly believe in that. So, what advice would you give to someone who's interested in pursuing NLP or hypnotherapy, who want to pursue hypnotherapy as their profession?
I would say keep a very open mind, because, like, in the sense that nothing should shock you. So that more you can do that, more open mindedness, you create this energy where people are naturally drawn to you and they feel comfortable in sharing with you. Because, like I said, a lot of the clients that do come to you, they're so used to handling everything themselves. It's very hard for them to let go and allow to trust the process and trust you. So be very open minded and very accommodating, but also, like you said, take care of yourself, because that's the most important thing. When you're trying to help the client, you can only help them if you're in a place of being able to help them. So if someone's already down in the pits, you don't go down in the pit with them and stay there. Your job is to give them that hand to help them to come back out again, and just keep that in your mind that that's my purpose when I'm working with a client.
Lovely, yeah, well said. So, even before coming to NLP practitioners, Amrit, do they do any kind of research by going to some other resources, say through books or through any other sources for NLP? Have you had clients who have tried to do NLP through some other resources, or is it only a practitioner can help?
So I've had people come to me who've tried NLP on themselves, because there is a lot of tools out there, and there's lots of YouTube videos and things. But sometimes talking with somebody who is actually in that profession can actually, and again, I always come back to the well-formed outcome. If we're clear on where we want to get to, that makes that journey so much easier. Sometimes when you're doing it by yourself, it's hard to know what that goal is and where you actually want to get to. So a good NLP practitioner will actually help you with good questioning, help you get there, get to that understanding, and then take you along that path, with you.
Nice, good to know. So, has there been a case where they have tried some other therapy like CBT or counseling, and then it didn't work for them and they've come to you? Has there been any case like that?
Yeah, I've had many cases within a clarity call where they've shared, actually, I've tried this. How will this be different? And I always say each has a role to play. Each has value to add. Each type of method, each type of healing has a purpose. At that moment, it might not have worked for them, but I try to understand, what is it that you'd like to get to? How is it that you'd like to feel? And then I just explain, look, this is how I can help you get there. And I think that reassurance helps. But I think also knowing that they've tried this, that didn't work, so I know how to flex the style that I can give them to make sure that works for them. Because a lot of the times, in that moment, if something didn't work, that in itself gives a good indication of what you need to do that could be different, that can help them even more. For example, CBT didn't work, counseling didn't work. Let's not try the talking part. Let's try other things first. Let's try more visual approach. Let's try more of a sound approach. Let's see how they respond to that, and then base the rest of the sessions on that as well.
Absolutely. I totally relate when you say that you are able to help when other techniques have not worked, maybe because they have not given their full. So with clients, what I have observed is when they come forward, 50% of the problem is solved because they have identified that they need help.
Yeah.
Okay. In most of the cases, the clients don't realize that they need help. So how are you going to urge them to come? Because most of the listeners and viewers of the podcast as well, I'm sure 1 in 2 or 3 women will be able to relate to the problems that you raised and the people that you've come to you for help. It's not only for professional development, it's not only for those who want to ascend in their career, say to boost their confidence or skills or whatever, but it is also those who need who feels a lack of self-love, who feels the lack of self-care. It's those women who need to step forward and come for help and seek help.
Yeah.
But in many cases, it's them who don't come forward. So I'd say the first step is to ask for help, is to identify and admit and acknowledge that you need help.
Yeah.
And if they do that, I think 50% of the problem is solved, right? So what are you going to tell those women whom you think should come to you? How do you urge them?
Absolutely. You absolutely spot on in saying that 50% is just putting your hand up and saying that something doesn't feel right. I don't even know what it is, but something doesn't feel right. Can you help me? And then that's when I can step in to work out, okay, where is it that you'd like to get to? And I'll help them fulfill that other 50% to get them to that 100% to get there. Absolutely it. The first thing is just that you're willing to work towards it, that you want to get where you want to get to. I've had many examples where I've been asked, look, can you work on my X, or can you work on my Y, or can you work on my Z? Some kind of family member, a friend, or whoever's close to them. And I always in my clarity calls have a chat with the actual person, and I ask them, would you like to work with me? Because I can get you there, but if you want to work with me, I can get you there. And when they say yes, that's when I know, okay, no problem, where is that we want to get to, and I'll hold your hand through that journey, through our sessions, to make sure that we do get there.
Great. So how has this work changed you personally?
I see each session that I have with my clients as a healing session on myself, because there's not only do you connect with such wonderful souls and such wonderful energies out there, but a lot of the techniques that you use in them, are so therapeutic, are so healing, that there's a part of you that gets healed every time that you work with them as well.
True. Sometimes when we know certain things, it's only when we reiterate it to somebody else, it's like telling yourself. I have observed that when I preach something to my client, and it's like reminding myself about it at times, because I might have missed it in my own self practice, or it would be like a checkpoint for me as well. Yeah, I can relate with that.
Yeah, and it just gives that beautiful feeling inside, where it just kind of makes sense. It clicks.
Correct. So it was really wonderful talking to you, Amrat. This 45 minutes was packed with a lot of insights and information about NLP and hypnotherapy. If you could leave our listeners with one message about the power of mind, what would it be?
A message that I'd love to kind of leave behind is, I believe that every woman deserves to feel the power inside of them. A lot of times, just knowing that I have the choice to realize that power and to allow it to come to life again. And if anybody is out there who's feeling not able to connect with that power, not able to kind of move forward, who are feeling quite stuck, please always do reach out rather than waiting to get to a kind of a burnout level. It's always good to reach out at the early stages so that they can work with it much, much quicker, because it is possible. There is light there at the end of the tunnel.
Perfect. That was very well said. I think everyone needs to seek help when needed. If it shouldn't be delayed to an extent that they feel sorry about not being able to help themselves. And it's also the family's responsibility to keep one another, observing one another's happiness, mental health very keenly, be it the parents to look after their child, to ensure that everybody is mentally happy and healthy. I think that would solve most of the problems if you attend to it in the very first place, right?
Absolutely, especially as our role as women as well, because we're so used to pouring into everybody else's cups. We can
True.
only do that
We
if
just
our
keep
own cup is
hoarding and
full.
hoarding, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So it's actually even more important that our own cups are full and we're looking after ourselves so that we can be more present, more valuable, and enjoy the relationships around us.
Absolutely. It was really a pleasure interacting with you, Amrat. And I would really urge the listeners and the viewers to connect with Amrat and learn more about her work. You would see the links below the YouTube video that you're just watching. You can reach out to her through her Instagram and LinkedIn profiles. And I'm sure she'd be wonderful to help you for whatever needs you may have to work on yourself, to reassure your self beliefs and boost your confidence. And she has done a lot of transformations in her career, and she's a very passionate NLP practitioner, and I urge you all to reach out to her for any help. Thanks once again, Amrat, for joining us on the
Thank
second
you.
episode of our podcast series, Deep in Spirit. It has been a pleasure and a privilege to interact with you and share some relevant and I could relate because I'm also counseling through yoga, and it's just that you're on the other side doing through NLP and hypnotherapy, which is very nice to know, and get some information about it also. So thank you so much once again.
Likewise, thank you very much, Deepa.
Thank you.